Shedeur Sanders went undrafted. A surprise, if not a shock.
Under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't happen. Tomorrow's the day. We're going to be happy regardless.
One of the truly stunning stories in the history of the draft is Shedeur Sanders sliding straight in to Saturday. Nobody knows where he's going to go.
With the 144th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Shedeur Sanders.
Take a minute, be upset that you fell in the draft, but I think now you attack this opportunity and prove everyone wrong.
Thank you for the fans, thank you for everybody, thank you for the Browns organization for giving me a chance. That's all I need.
NFL analyst Sam Acho with us right now. And it finally happened. Shedeur Sanders to the Browns in the 5th round after a historic slide. So, Acho, what do you make of this pairing of Shedeur Sanders and Cleveland?
I think it's the perfect fit. It's just a couple rounds later than a lot of people expected. Cleveland is going to have a quarterback that will be able to compete in this roster. We think about it. Yes, it's a crowded quarterback room, but Shedeur fits what Kevin Stefanski, the head coach and now play caller, wants to do. He wants quarterbacks who throw on time, who throw on rhythm. They don't have to be overly athletic, but they have to be able to distribute the ball. And that's one thing that Shedeur Sanders did extremely well. He was very efficient at getting to his target on time. And so it's the right fit, crowded room, but we'll have an opportunity, especially as the season goes on, to try and earn a spot and maybe get some starts.
Yeah, definitely a crowded quarterback room. 5 quarterbacks right now on that Browns roster. So that is a standout storyline from the draft. However, what about a team that had a standout draft over the last 3 days?
The defending Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles, did it again. Let's start with their first-round pick, Jahad Campbell. He's a beast, a linebacker out of Alabama. But what's better about this fit is the fit between him and his coordinator. Vic Fangio loves linebackers. We've seen it over and over again. I saw it up close and personal when I played with him as a linebacker for 4 years. It's going to be an unbelievable fit in the middle of this defense. And then combine that with Andrew Makumba, safety out of Texas. He's a physical, hard-hitting safety, but also is a ball hawk. And oh, by the way, there's that Georgia connection again. 5th round, Smile London, Athens over going again to Philadelphia. Howie Roseman does a great job of finding diamonds in the rough. I think Smile London is another one of them, the Georgia player that dominates on defense.
Yeah, well, the rest of the NFL not going to want to hear that the Eagles won the draft. However, you are going to want to hear this, Sam. It's a Saturday's best moment, and what a cool scene yesterday when you take a look at what happened here. This is someone you must be familiar with. The Packers took Texas edge rusher Baron Sorell, and much to his surprise and to the team, really, Sorell was the only one to actually stick around in the draft room and made an appearance on stage after getting selected. And Sam, we know that you're a Texas Longhorn. You love that program. What was going through your mind when you saw this moment happen?
Well, excitement. More than the program, I love the person. Baron Sorell is a friend of mine, or a mentee, if you will, and he decided to go to the draft. He said, man, I can't pass this moment up, but he knew that he may not be a first-round pick. He figured he'd be day 2. Well, day 2 comes and goes. All of a sudden, he's the last person there, and Roger Goodell says, hey, I will wait with you. And oh, by the way, it was worth the wait. We texted last night, Baron and I said, man, I knew that God had a plan, and that plan happened to be that he would get drafted to his home team. Essentially, he stayed in Green Bay for an extra day, and the Green Bay Packers were the team that drafted him. So all that extra night that he stayed, he just got a chance to know his community a little bit more.
Yeah, it really was the perfect moment. Sorell saying that he was, quote, thankful that I made the decision to come back because it couldn't have turned out any better. Obviously was the best.
Weird things happen, like at the NFL draft, but at the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders is an NFL player. The Browns took him with the 144th overall pick. In between number 1 and 144, that was that unprecedented slide, the prank phone call, the speculation, but finally a landing spot, and for a franchise that's been a revolving door for quarterbacks.
Obviously, Shedeur has kind of grown up in the spotlight, but our expectation is for him to come in here and work and compete. Nothing's been promised. Nothing will be given. I may hesitate to characterize it as a blockbuster. That's not necessarily how we thought of the transaction, but we are excited to work with him.
I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity. I don't ever focus on the negative or even think about the negative because the positive happens so fast, and it's a change of emotions. For me, it was just playing quarterback. That's what it's about.
Well, that QB room there in Cleveland going to need some more seats. They got 5 dudes in there. Clearly not all 5 of them will make the opening day roster. 4 of those guys you see were not on the roster in Cleveland last season. Of course, that includes the 2 quarterbacks they just chose in Gabriel and Sanders. All right, for some more perspective on what actually happened here with Shedeur Sanders, we bring in Jordan Reed to SportsCenter. And look, I don't want to speak for the Browns, but their draft selections would indicate that at the quarterback position, they rated Dillon Gabriel ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Based on what you've seen from this young man, the evaluations, the people you've talked to, how does that make sense?
Well, Michael, quite frankly, it doesn't to me, just because Shedeur Sanders was my number 19 overall ranked player. Dillon Gabriel, I had a 5th-round grade on. I didn't even think it was close as far as the evaluation between the two. And I know Dillon Gabriel has been more successful than Shedeur Sanders from a statistical standpoint. But if we're just talking about the physical traits and what Shedeur Sanders can be on the next level, I don't even think it's even close between the two. We're talking about a quarterback that was the highest rated passer, and completion percentage was 74% a season ago. Supremely accurate. He's very, very good from the pocket as far as playing within structure, throwing the ball down the field. He's really good in the short to intermediate areas as well. I definitely think Shedeur Sanders can still be a starter on the next level, even though he was a 5th-round pick.
Again, that's no disrespect to Dillon Gabriel. Congratulations to that young man for going where he did. But the common sentiment was that Shedeur Sanders was ranked well above Dillon Gabriel, but the draft didn't turn out that way. But regardless of how he got there, Jordan, now Shedeur Sanders is in Cleveland. In terms of the personnel they have there in the quarterback room we just showed you, how do you see him fitting in with the Browns?
Well, it definitely is very crowded. He's entering into a very crowded quarterback room. They already have Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett at the top of the depth chart. And we just mentioned Dillon Gabriel, and Deshaun Watson is still on the roster technically as well. But Shedeur Sanders, he enters into a situation where I think he has a chance to play at some point. But the biggest thing for him is that he has to understand that he is a day 3 selection, and he can't come into Berea thinking that he was a day 1 selection. He has to have a day 3 mindset and understand that that's his role right now behind Joe Flacco as well as Kenny Pickett. Just take notes from those guys, especially just cling on to Joe Flacco, who was once again in a situation with Lamar Jackson back in Baltimore. We saw what Lamar has turned out to be. Not saying Shedeur is going to end up being like Lamar Jackson, but just talking about the role initially that he needs to play.
By the way, though, Shedeur not the only Sanders making it to an NFL roster. His brother Shiloh, undrafted safety out of Colorado, he signed a free agent contract with Tampa Bay on Saturday. Jordan Reed joining us here on SportsCenter. Draft projections to 401k balances. No number you see is actually real until the day your name is called or you make a withdrawal. And sometimes all it takes for either value to plummet is someone talking nonsense, either publicly or privately with the real decision makers. And that's a lesson that just about every draft prospect learned this week, but especially Shedeur Sanders, a projected 1st-round pick who for some unclear reason fell all the way to the 5th round, where the Browns finally selected the Colorado standout with the 144th overall pick.
Shedeur Sanders, to me, when you talk about the locker room and the players around him, they love him. Now, the perception from others outside, based on what there's the noise, maybe they didn't like what they heard. I don't know how it was handled. You get all the word about this, that. You think, well, they're just trying to hurt Shedeur. Teams are throwing it out there. You don't know what was true, what wasn't. How Deion's going to operate. Deion's going to stay out of it. He's going to be calling or threatening any coaches or saying, or there'll be a threat that Deion could take over. Deion's not happy. Deion's not going to say anything. Deion's going to coach Colorado. So a lot of this stuff, I think, just made no sense to me, kind of the negativity you heard over the last couple months.
This is not about can you play the position. This is about do we want you to play the position for us. That's what this came.
Why wouldn't they, Lou?
Well, look, that's a whole nother discussion that we've had in many different ways for weeks
I would say
and
that
months now.
This is not one of the toughest quarterbacks you've ever
But Mel, this isn't about this isn't about quarterback traits and quarterback characteristics, personal football character. That's not about this. This is personal.
Has he had an off the field issue? No, he has not.
Mel, you don't have to sell it to me.
No, I don't know what we're talking about here.
You're right.
You're right.
Yes, you're right. But you know what? But Mel, the draft has spoken.
This was the result.
Yeah.
Now he has an opportunity to answer it. I think yelling at the NFL about it is not.
There's not a quarterback. Boomer Esiason was not happy when he was a 2nd-round pick.
Tom Brady was not happy.
They dropped. How'd they turn out?
And you know what?
Nobody's arguing that can happen.
The NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. They have no idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that.
How many
they say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback. They don't.
All of that leads us to this. It is back. It's the point after.
Draft edition.
Fine, fair enough. The Sanders situation is a bad look for the NFL. For one player to go from being in the conversation for the #1 pick in the draft to the 5th round, who's pulling those strings and why? Somebody needs to start talking, because otherwise it looks like at best you're hating on the Sanders family, or you can't deal with their personalities. And yes, that is actually the best case scenario. And while we're talking, who coughed up that phone number?
I don't know Shedeur Sanders. Hell, I've never even met Dion. But I learned quite a bit about the character of this year's 144th pick by how he responded to all the nonsense he endured the last 3 days. And him busting out some celebratory dance moves with his brother Shiloh after finally getting drafted was the perfect example. In the wake of the hate, the slander, and the innuendo, Shedeur remained positive and grateful. I don't know about you, but that's the exact type of character I would want in my team's locker room, regardless of whether he's going to be a Pro Bowler one day or not. And now that all the picks have been made, can we all just take a second to remind ourselves that none of us, not nobody, has any real idea how good any of these draftees are actually going to be?
None!
Look, I know we like to eat up the draft like it's free Girl Scout cookies, but everybody's just guessing. And even some of the best guessed can't-miss prospects, Ryan Leaf, Tony Mandarich, missed, like badly. And let's not forget, the players don't draft themselves. It's the teams that put undue expectations on some of them by drafting them way above their talent and skill set. But again, teams are really just guessing too.
I don't have to guess at this. Who is the bestest girl in the whole wide world? That's Tyler Shuck's puppy, Murphy, a.k.a. Murph, because she's named after the Interstellar movie character. Anyway, she heard dad was getting drafted, and she instantly thought, treat upgrade! Am I getting a pool now? She was later seen wearing a Saints bandana, and Shuck is now my favorite player because Goldens are the best. And you know what I absolutely don't know?
What?
I do not know fashion, but we are still going to fit check.
Really?
No,
You
not
dress
like.
so well.
But that's a lot of sarcasm from that one. Because my 8-year-old, you know Blake, she asked me for a pair of Crocs for Christmas, and I basically told her, over my dead body. Yet here lies Ashton Genty.
No.
Bedazzled Crocs.
No.
He said he was trying to be comfortable and yet still look fly. Perhaps that's why they weren't even in sport mode.
That's not.
This hurts my soul.
The fit was nice, but the shoes are trash.
The shoes are awful.
All right, so let's go to my man, Georgia defensive back Malachi Starks. He went number 27 overall to the Ravens. So we're going monochromatic, and what color did you call this?
Blush.
Blush. Okay, that's cool. But the problem is, my man, your pants should not be so tight that I can tell what car you drive and read the text messages on your phone.
Also, do you not have somebody to hold that for you?
I mean, at this point, you got to have some help somewhere. The color, I'm down with.
I'm
Matter of
fine
fact,
with it.
I wish I could get that color for the Kentucky Derby next weekend.
Oh, now you're talking some.
That would be fly. That's a derby.
Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cách làm một chiếc túi xách mini cho búp bê nha. Nguyên liệu của mình cần có chính là len này. Mình sẽ sử dụng 3 màu sắc như thế này để làm nha mọi người. Màu vàng, màu trắng và màu tím nhé. Mình sẽ kết hợp lại với nhau. Sử dụng kim móc len để làm nhá. Và cần có kéo nữa để cắt. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ bắt tay vào làm. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ sử dụng cái phần len màu vàng trước. Mình sẽ tiến hành mình móc nha. Tìm cái đầu len. Đây, đầu tiên thì mình sẽ móc một cái nút thắt ở đây. Móc một nút thắt. Đây, mình sẽ được một cái nút thắt như thế này. Bây giờ sẽ móc vào là những cái mũi bình kép nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ móc những mũi bình kép vào, móc hết vào. Đây, móc vào, cứ từng mũi một. Mình móc cho hết chỗ dây này là được nhá. Rồi móc tiếp xuống nữa. Mũi tiếp theo. Mũi tiếp nữa này.